Hey friends, Damron here. I have so many patients that struggle with sugar addiction. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how to overcome sugar addiction and how I personally overcame sugar addiction in my own personal journey. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be notified anytime I post new content related to women's health, hormones, or holistic health. Sugar addiction is super common amongst women, and maybe it's addiction, maybe it's just a propensity to eat sugar and have a sweet tooth. A lot of women are wanting to reduce their sugar intake and get control over these cravings. In my opinion, sugar cravings and sugar addiction can come from both physiological needs and reasons and more psychological needs and reasons. And so in today's video, we're going to uncover that and kind of go through some different areas that I talk to women about and how to address these sugar cravings or sugar addictions. So the first part of this is to ask yourself, are you being too restrictive? In my own journey, I started with doing the Atkins diet when I was in high school, a senior in high school, and I did it religiously, no sugar, 20 grams of net carbs a day or less for a really long time, a few months. And I was able to white knuckle it and just do it. And it became easier as time went on, I would say. I definitely ate a lot of fake sugar and things like that, not super healthy. And no, I'm not recommending that by any stretch. Until one day I ate some French toast. I was wanting some comfort food and I ate some French toast, and all bets were off from there. From then on, all I did was crave carbohydrates, and I got on into this all or nothing mindset where each and every day of my life, I would wake up and say, just don't eat the carbs, don't eat the carbs, don't eat the carbs. And every single day I would be around them. Obviously, I was in college at this point, and I lived in a dorm, and so we were eating in the cafeteria. There was processed carbs everywhere and things that looked really delicious. And every single day I would have one, and initially, it would be one or two, and then I would just have this all or nothing mindset going, and so I would eat way more than was necessary or even, a normal portion. One thing that I think is a huge thing for any sort of restrictive dieting, but sugar tends to be at the top of the list, is, are you being too restrictive? Are you telling yourself sugar's bad, I shouldn't have it, whether it's from a health standpoint or a weight standpoint, dietary standpoint? There's all kinds of different reasons out there, and I'm no, obviously, stranger to the internet. I see all the different marketing messages that talks about how devilish glucose spikes are and blood sugar spikes and sugar and how it is the root of all evil. I see all of those, and I think it definitely perpetuates this message that we need to stop sugar. Sugar's bad, but yet it tastes so good and we want it. And I think that a lot of women get stuck in sort of this all or nothing mindset where they've restricted, and then eat a little bit, and then their brain's just oh my gosh, this tastes so good, I want more. I can never have this again. This is the last supper. And so then, anyone in this mindset would tend to overeat it because it feels like the last supper. So I think that's number one. If you're struggling with this restrictive dieting mindset, I know it feels scary to change that because you feel already like you can't trust yourself around sugar or food in general. But I promise you that deprivation mindset and scarcity mindset around it is actually perpetuating the cycle, creating this restriction, overeat / binge cycle. So, the book Intuitive Eating is really great. It talks about the diet police and all or nothing mindset and all of this stuff. When I was in college, and finally, I was a senior in college at this point. So I had gone through 4 years of sort of this mindset where I couldn't eat carbohydrates and sugar was terrible, and I would overeat it, undereat it, all the things. I finally decided enough was enough, and I went to a nutritionist at the college I was at Arizona State University, and that was the first book they gave me. So that was a really great first dive into kind of learning these principles and this methodology. So if this is you, a psychologist can obviously help, a nutritionist, dietitian, a book. There's all kinds of books about overcoming sugar addiction and things like that. And I want you to be very careful about who you pay attention to in this regard, because you don't want to restrict or do sugar detoxes or things like that. In my opinion, I've been in this industry for 17 years, it always rebounds back. Number two is to make sure that you're setting the stage with a healthy, balanced plate as much as possible. So protein, fat, and fiber help to keep your blood sugar super balanced so that your body will physiologically crave less sugar. If you're riding a blood sugar roller coaster all day long and you're eating a bunch of processed carbs and sugar, your body is going to naturally crave more of those because your blood sugar is going to drop really quickly, and then it's going to want quick glucose. So we want meals to keep us full, satisfied, satiated. We want our hunger, energy, cravings, mood, and sleep in a good place. And we can do a lot of that with nutrition by, again, following the framework of protein, fat, and fiber at each meal. Ideally, for most people, everyone's energy needs are a little bit different here, and so I hesitate to give blanket statements, but ideally, somewhere between 20 and 30 grams of protein, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of fat, healthy fats, and then fiber around 8 to 10 grams is a really, really solid goal to aim for in terms of each of your 3 main meals. I think that will help keep, like I said, everything nice and stable, and you will be less likely to be hungry, ravenous, blood sugar dropping, and wanting those quick carbs and glucose. Number 3 is don't go into triggering situations deprived. So we obviously just had December, Christmas cookie season, and all the things. I used to go into like a baking party or Christmas cookie baking with my family and having like not really eaten because I was trying to be really good, air quotes, and was scared that I was going to overeat the cookies. And so I would already be really hungry. And you guys, that's like the worst place to set the stage. Don't go into those situations really hungry. Again, go back to number 2 where you followed the framework of protein, fat, fiber. Make sure that you're feeling nice and stable so that you are not really just like biting yourself in the foot, because that's just never going to be a good situation if you go into a super triggering situation really hungry. Number 4 is to be realistic about a portion. So again, kind of back to my example with the sugar cookies and the Christmas cookie baking stuff, I would go in there and say, I'm not having any. I'm going to just white knuckle it. I'm going to bake all this yummy stuff and everyone else is going to be eating it. And I'm going to stay super strong-willed and super disciplined and not have a bite of it. And obviously that never ever, I don't think one time ever happened in my life. And I would have some, and then kind of going back to what we're talking about, I would instead eat 1 or 2 cookies. I would have like 8 and feel miserable. And then that's not benign psychologically, because then we start to feel guilt, shame, disappointment in ourselves, and we start to feel, like a failure. And that tends to reach out in other areas of our life that we can't follow through on things. We're bad, all of that, which is not a great place to be. So I want to remind you that when you're going into situations like this, like have a realistic portion idea. So instead of saying, I'm going to eat 8 cookies or no cookies, maybe say, I'm going to really save, myself for 1 to 2 of my very favorite treats. And I'm going to sit down and enjoy them. I'm going to put them on a plate or a napkin and I'm going to sit there. I'm not going to just like scoop, spoonfuls out of the bowl or just nibble here and there all day. I'm actually going to like savor this portion, because that's how mindfulness around food works. And I'm going to actually allow myself guilt-free to have a normal portion of this food. That should usually kind of get the novelty out of it so that you aren't pining after it and needing to kind of be into this restriction binge cycle. Number 5, this took me a really long time to understand, but it's one of my very favorite things now. And actually, when I'm working with patients, they tell me that's one of their very favorite things and one of their saving graces. It is have a treat daily. Again, I have always been on the mindset, or in the past when I was in the diet culture, I was always in the mindset of really, really clean eating, no matter like what plan I was on. I was following it to a T, and most of the time, right, that's not including treats and things like that in diets. And so I would very often, obviously, like just really restrict. And that led me to, again, sort of this like restriction, white knuckle it all week. And then on the weekends, I'd be with friends or my husband or whatever, and he'd be getting a treat, and I would kind of just like let loose and again overeat. So when I was able to sort of take these things off the pedestal and just put them on like normal playing field with food, I now purposefully in my life have like little Lily's chocolate chips or a few dots a day, or a bite of a cookie or a muffin or whatever, something each and every day that I want. Some days I don't want it, other days I do, but I certainly don't deprive myself in that. And I allow myself to have like those treats every now and again so that I can not be like pining after them and not feel like they're such a novelty that I can't have. And by doing that, you realize that these things are readily available. They're not the Last Supper. We don't have to like eat them all because we're never going to be exposed to them again. We actually can have them anytime. And this kind of leads me into number 6 because I get it. That felt so scary to me. I was like, the mindset when I was in this of get everything out of the house. I can't trust myself around this food. I don't want to be around it. It can't be here. And slowly but surely I had children and it is here. There's nothing I can do about it. I want them to have a normal relationship around food. There's Halloween candy, there's Christmas cookies, there's birthday treats, there's, all kinds of things with them. And I want them to have those experiences too. And so it is around now. And so I had to figure out a way to manage it. I didn't want to be the mom who, ate all the kids' candy and cookies and things like that. When it was there, I wanted to show them a really normal relationship around this. That was a huge desire of mine. And so what it takes is practice, practice, practice. You are not going to decide this and be able to be around all the cookies and candy and cakes and all the good stuff that you want right away and do it perfectly. It's going to take a lot of practice, practice, practice. And I also think each and every time that you make a decision that maybe you don't love, like you feel like you did overeat, and it wasn't a realistic portion, it was overeating that, I want you to go back and figure out what went wrong. Did you go into it starving? Did you eat balanced meals before that? Did you have a deprivation mindset? Did you have the all or nothing mindset that said, I'm never having this again, screw it, I'm just going to eat it all? Go back, not in shame and guilt, but go back and look at what the mindset was or what the roadblock was that kind of caused that so that you have data. So next time you can decide, okay, I'm actually not going to do that this time, or I'm going to start to work on this all or nothing mindset. We start to get data when we're self-aware and practice mindfulness around these things. So these are my 6 best tips, you guys. And I promise you, like I said, this really does just take practice, and it also takes a willingness to want to get through it. I think a lot of people just assume that they're addicted to sugar and want to just do a detox and get rid of it all and you can't be around it. And they're just like willing to live in that. And that's going to keep you in this perpetual teeter-totter of all or nothing. And so it does first, I think, take a willingness to decide, I want to get through this. I want to learn how to be around food. I want to practice food moderation and food freedom. And I want to have a normal relationship with food. And then secondly, like I said, practice, practice, practice. And I'm going to be super transparent with this. It got easier and easier every single time I did it for the most part. It's not a linear process, but over the years, it got easier and easier, but it does take years to be around food and to manage through these things because we've been doing this other thing for years. I had been doing dieting and thinking that certain foods were bad and being involved in the diet culture and that mentality for decades before I decided to start working on this. And so I think likely if you're listening to this video, you might be involved in the diet mentality for decades too. And that's going to take some time to kind of overwrite in your brain and create these new neural pathways. So I'm rooting for you. You've got this. Practice, practice, practice. And also, don't forget to seek out support from other people who are coaches, someone like myself, a psychologist, a therapist, a dietitian. There's all kinds of people out there who can help you overcome sugar addiction, the all or nothing mindset, binge eating, overeating, all of those kind of mindset issues around food. I hope you found this helpful. I also have a program called Heal Your Hormones Masterclass that I just wanted to chat about really quick. It is a comprehensive hormone healing program for anyone dealing with low energy, insomnia, anxiety, food issues, stubborn weight loss, period problems, endometriosis, thyroid conditions, digestive issues, adrenal fatigue stuff. All of that's in there. You're going to learn what hormonal imbalances you're specifically dealing with. You will also learn about testing hormones and how to do that. You'll learn the 5 pillars to hormones health, which we talk about here all the time. And you're going to learn a comprehensive and holistic way to help heal all of those symptoms and balance your hormones in general, your stress and sex hormones in general. So go check that out at alliedamron.com/heal. And if you have any questions, feel free to type in the comments below. I'm happy to answer anything about the course or anything about what we're talking about today with sugar addiction and cravings. If you found this helpful and you have friends and family who could benefit, please share this video with them. And I'll see you guys all in the next one.